Hello, I'm Peter Marzano.
And I'm Lucas Heatherington.
With Big4Sports.com, and we're here to give you 5 players that we think would be inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame if the National Hockey League ceased to exist.
Now we have some criteria. Certain players are already shoo-ins, so we can't use players such as Teemu Selanne, Jerome Iginla, Jaromir Jagr, Marty Brodeur, or Joe Thornton.
Players that have already made the resume strong enough to the point where they're pretty much already into the Hall of Fame, regardless of what happens for the rest of their career. But there are currently still players in the NHL that aren't shoo-ins, but are definitely making themselves a case for them to be in. And for me, the number one person that should be in the Hall of Fame if the NHL ended today is Ottawa Senators forward Daniel Alfredsson. Alfredsson has had a very impressive career so far with 416 goals, 666 assists, and 1,082 points, which is what that adds up to. Alfredsson also has a Calder Trophy on his resume, and he carried the Ottawa Senators to a Stanley Cup final in 2007.
Now, he actually has 1,028 points. Just
28.
A little dyslexia here, but that's okay. Also, and this should be known, he's the longest-serving captain in the NHL right now. So the leadership alone pushes him up above, say, an average Joe player.
And another thing that makes Alfredsson special about, in comparison to at least other people that are looking to have a nice Hall of Fame resume, is that Daniel Alfredsson has also spent his entire career with one team, the Ottawa Senators, which you usually don't see in the National Hockey League today, so it's obviously quite an achievement.
That's loyalty right there.
Yeah, definitely. Second, I have Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger is a very notable defenseman, even though it seems like his career might already be over, so these may be the statistics that he's relying on to get into the Hall of Fame. Chris Pronger is the last defenseman to win a Hart Memorial Trophy. He was part of a very notable St. Louis Blues team in 2000 that actually carried the President's Trophy. Pronger has 152 goals, 541 assists, which adds up to 698 points. I believe I got the math right on that one.
He did. He also has a Norris Trophy in 2000, so...
Yeah, so
there you go.
Award for the best defenseman. Pronger has a nice resume. He also helped carry the Philadelphia Flyers to the Stanley Cup final in the year of 2010. So Chris Pronger, who is still currently serving as a team captain for the Philadelphia Flyers, has had an outstanding career, and I believe he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Along with this impressive statistics, he's also had a great resume to really make himself an aggressive player and a notable defenseman in the National Hockey League for the entire length of his time in the NHL.
He's kind of the last dying breath of the big, bad defenseman.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And actually, another notable fact about Chris Pronger, he's one of the only 2 active NHL players who have played for the Hartford Whalers.
Would you look at that?
J.S. Jajuri would be the other one. But coming in at third on my list, even though I'm going in what seems like an opposite order, I do have Ray Whitney on here now. Ray Whitney, as you know, captured his 1,000th point this past season, but he's also had a very notable career. And while Ray Whitney may not have, the most impressive stats of all, he does have a few things to back him up. He has a Stanley Cup championship in 2006 with the Carolina Hurricanes. He has some great numbers. He's no point-per-game player, but with 365 goals, 638 assists, he's 3 points above 1,000 right now. Still looking to play more hockey. He looks like he is still a competitive hockey player, so it's very important for Ray Whitney.
The Wizards still got the magic.
Absolutely. I think he absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame. It seems like 1,000 points is starting to be a watermark for if somebody should.
Kind of like the plateau. That's
Yeah.
why Joe Thornton's on our list of can't use him.
And Joe Thornton still has a lot of years left in his career, which is...
Oh, yeah, he does. Especially with the high-scoring Sharks, you never know.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of room left. But for guys like Ray Whitney, who's already 40 years old, he doesn't necessarily have that time. But I think if his career ended today, he has a good enough resume to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. At fourth, I have Marian Hossa. Marian Hossa is also not technically a point-per-game player, but he's a player who has been very successful. He's played in 3 different Stanley Cup finals, winning one with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010, after appearing there with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings.
Quite the hat trick.
He finally was able to close it out on his 3rd time. Hossa, 429 goals, 487 assists, it's 926 points. He's 33 years old now, so presumably if his career continues, He should be able to get 1,000 points, at least at the pace that he's scoring at now.
And he is fully recovered from the Rafi Torres hit, as
Yeah.
far as fully recovered goes in hockey.
Yeah, you never really know about those definitions of it.
Eric Lindros, Sidney Crosby.
Absolutely.
Not saying anything.
But yeah, Marian Hossa, outstanding player. I think he has a criteria to be in the Hall of Fame right now. He may not have reached 1,000 points, but I still believe that, he has those qualifications, so he's got himself to be in the main discussion of the Hall of Fame. Not necessarily a first ballot Hall of Famer yet, but he'll definitely get in, I believe.
Also, the only player for the Atlanta Thrashers to ever reach 100 points.
And I believe he was at 100 even.
Exactly 100. Pulled it off.
In that 2006-2007 season.
Not even Kovalchuk can say that, so there you go.
And so an impressive stat from Marian Hossa, a little fun fact there. Martin St. Louis is my last person I'm going to bring up. St. Louis has played 931 NHL games. He has 323 goals, 529 assists, 852 points. He's 37 years old. But I think what makes St. Louis' resume better is more in depth to what he's done in his career. You look at the fact that the man has 2 Lady Byng trophies, a Hart Memorial Trophy, an Art Ross Trophy. He came in the league undrafted, and by the way, he won the Stanley Cup in 2004 with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He has a great resume.
Oh, he does. And especially with a player like Steven Stamkos, especially if this season starts up within the next week or so, coming off a 60-goal season, St. Louis can rack up a ton of assists.
Yeah, and I think they can still create a dynamic duo for what he has left. I see St. Louis, 37 years old, so he doesn't have all that much time left in his career, but he's still able to be a productive player. I think he's still an integral part of the Tampa Bay Lightning if they want to go far in the postseason or perhaps qualify for the postseason this season.
Oh, yeah.
If we have one.
I mean, if he can pull 3 more seasons of 50 points, he breaks the 1,000, and like you said earlier, that's kind of the benchmark nowadays.
Yeah, and that'll definitely help him get in.
Alright, for my list, I have Shane Doan at 5th. In 1,198 games, he has 318 goals, 1 career hat trick, by the way, 470 assists for a total of 788 points. Now, he's not a point-a-game player, he never will be, but the guy has been a leader, and he's stayed with his team ever since it was the Winnipeg Jets.
So
His playoff statistics aren't all that. He's got some 28 points in 55 games. But when your team doesn't make the playoffs, it's kind of hard to rack up points. So I think Shane Doan, for the leadership and his commitment to his team, deserves some consideration above, say, any other player who's gone from team to team.
Yeah, Shane Doan's always shown the commitment to his franchise, and that's what I think makes him a notable player and one that is worth of a discussion to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Right. Also, I mean, you got to get some Coyotes in there, and at this point, we don't really know who else is up for it. As far as 4th on my list, I have Mika Kiprusoff from the Flames. In 599 games played, he has 311 wins, 199 losses, 7 ties, 67 overtime losses, a goals against average of 245 or 2.45, and a save percentage of 91.4%. He has a Vezina and a Jennings trophy, and the guy's played 70 games in a season, I don't know how many times, but he has been a workhorse in his time with the Flames.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what makes Mika Kiprusoff so much more notable is the fact that he really is carrying the weight of the defense of the Calgary Flames, and he always has been. He's playing nearly every game for this franchise. He's had extreme dedication, and he wasn't really supposed to be a great player if you see where he was drafted.
He was drafted, I believe, 116th overall, back by the San Jose Sharks in the 90s.
Yeah, so you look at that, Kiprusoff, obviously, such a great player, very dynamic. Took the Flames to the Stanley Cup Final in 2004, which was one of the more notable series. Great player, and I think he's only 34 years old right now. He still has time to improve his resume. Perhaps maybe another Stanley Cup run. We don't know where the Calgary Flames will be going, or if
It looks tough at this
he's
point.
going.
We don't even know where Jerome McGinnis will end up.
So
My top 3, Peter already hit, so I'll just give you a brief run through because we basically covered the main points. My 3rd guy is Daniel Alfredsson. Like we said, I mean, he's got a Calder trophy. That's about it as far as trophies go, but he's been so dedicated to his team, longest serving captain, 400 plus goals, and he's a senator. You gotta love the nation's capital. Second on my list is Marty St. Louis. Again, if he can play a couple more seasons with a guy like Stamkos next to him.
And Vinny Lecavalier as well.
Right, who also could have made this list but didn't quite get in. I mean, St. Louis could push 1,000 points by the time he's 40, and if we start this season, you never know, he could put up another 50, 60 points this season in 48 games. Yeah. Unlikely, but the way Stamkos produces, it could happen. My first overall on the list is Chris Pronger, and his career might be over after missing almost all of last season. But the guy has been one of the last big bad defensemen, one of the last guys who will go to the net as a defenseman. If you remember the Stanley Cup final from 2010, he was always battling with Dustin Byfuglien in front of the net. Yeah. And he wins. He's strong, and he loves winning. He won the Stanley Cup with the Ducks, and it's just, the guy knows how to play. He knows how to play defense.
Absolutely.
So, that's my top 5. That's Peter's top 5. With Big 4 Sports, this has been Lucas Heatherington.
And Peter Marzano.